Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Movie Blog, the official home of the correct opinion. Today, we're going to be talking about that upcoming Netflix movie, They Cloned Tyrone. That movie starring Jamie Foxx, Boyega, Teyonah Parris, and written and directed by the very talented Juel Taylor. The movie is amazing. I mean, it's really, really good. I got to see the movie early thanks to the fine folks over at Netflix, and while I'm not allowed to really give you all a review of the movie just yet, I can let you know that I really enjoyed the movie and do a few things here and there to help promote the film. So I was trying to figure out what's the best way to really talk about this movie without really talking about this movie. And I figured, why not just talk to the director, Juel Taylor, and Teyonah Parris about the film and do a deep dive?
Okay. Okay, all right. No problem.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, come over.
Come on.
Hi.
I'm on. Hi. Thank you both so much. I'm so very excited to speak to you. We're gonna have some fun. But I'm gonna warn y'all from now. I'm not gonna ask y'all easy questions. Some of these questions are gonna be hard.
Okay.
Oh shit, I'm trying.
You ready?
So, my first question, for Juel, what inspired you to?
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I mispronounce your name?
My mama called me Jewel, so it can be either one.
Well,
It could be
Joel.
my,
What inspired you to explore the concept of cloning in They Cloned Tyrone? How did you approach putting a unique spin on it?
the cloning specifically. I mean, I think that came it came relatively early, honestly, in terms of once we, it started from this thematic question of is there a difference between blame and responsibility? And kind of as we explored that question, explored Fontaine's character, it when you're extrapolating to the craziest scenario, it didn't take long to get to cloning. I don't want to spoil where it goes at the end. I don't know if
I saw the whole thing. Oh yeah.
Oh, so where not without spoiling where it goes at the end. We kind of work backwards from if a guy's having a literal identity crisis, so hard to talk about these things without spoiling. Person having a literal identity crisis and knowing the ending of the movie and kind of how it ultimately plays out. You're working backwards from what's the craziest thing that we could think about that would really put those polarities of who he is into conflict with one another. And if you think about where it goes, cloning kind of naturally starts to be an offshoot of that. No, that's probably not a satisfactory answer without seeing the movie, but
I love it. Well, I felt like the movie pays homage to a lot of the Blaxploitation films of the 70s. Can you share how these films influenced your vision for this project, and how did you incorporate their essence while still making the film feel fresh and contemporary?
I mean, I think really, obviously there's the aesthetics, which the aesthetics are kind of self-explanatory, but at the same time, I think there's also this quality of just getting it out the mud that I really, I think is more kind of in the, ethos of our approach, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times I don't know if you've seen some movie like Blackula, some of these movies just had no budget, zero budget, but they still tackle high concepts, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times really made something out of nothing. And I think that's really where a lot of the inspiration came from of when we set out, we were not as fortunate we didn't know we're gonna have amazing actors, we didn't know what we would have, you know what I'm saying? We were we used to be lucky, want to make it at all. So you're attacking this with this idea that, you still have this film school mindset of we gotta get out the mud. You still want to do something that feels high concept.
Okay. Now, Teyonah, I got questions for you too now.
I'm here. I like hearing what he has to say. I've heard this.
Oh,
Can you tell us about your character in the movie and what initially drew you to the?
Yeah, so I read this script back in 2018. It's been a while, and immediately when I read it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this." And so I auditioned, and I met Juel and the whole team, and basically was like, "Look, y'all gonna harm me with it, back down." And so really, I fought for it for a couple years. Really, it was up and it just takes a while to get a movie on its feet and all of the moving parts, and so I really just wanted to be a part of it. I loved how we were mixing all of these genres, you throw them up, and because of that, because we were creating our own world, there just were no boundaries. And so for that, I relied heavily on Juel to help me find the tone for Yo-Yo, because she is a very vivacious character and does too much often. I mean, from her wardrobe, from her go-get-it attitude. And so, I felt it was too much. Let me not say Yo-Yo was too much. She don't think she too much. You know what I mean? But I wanted to make sure that I found a balance between, like the satire part of what we're doing and the deep, thriller concept of what we were doing, and making sure, there was, I was in the right vein, because there was a couple of times where I think in post, Juel realized, woo,
she did a great job.
Yeah.
No.
No, but that's because, thank you, that you feel that way, but that's because I had Juel there to be like, I think we should, let's try it this way or that way.
Well,
And that was fun.
Yeah, I ain't had to do much of nothing. The actors, like, they turned it into something that it wasn't even on page. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like what you see when you're writing it, and then it's like what you get is like way different and better than what you imagined that you would get. Once people like inhabit the character, so like she'd be a nice, she'd be a nice, you know what I'm saying? But end of the day, like honestly, like that part of it, like it's very difficult in terms of like production, you know what I'm saying? But that part of production wasn't difficult because I actually have any work to do, like in that regard, right? Like I have very little work to do. It's like, they were so, like invested in their characters, you know what I'm saying? They like took ownership of it and they push back, you know what I mean? Like, and that's, you need that in terms of like, when you're, so that you're not like completely in your own like bubble of ideas, you know what I'm saying? And so like, fortunately, they were gracious enough to like, push back on things that didn't feel natural to them and their character. Because once they take over, it's their character. It ain't mine no more. Just fact that they were invested enough to really like think of the story as a whole, like the whole apparatus, and not necessarily just think of like this individual scene that we're shooting right now. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it was a lot, it's a lot easier than it maybe could have been, if I wasn't so fortunate, with the actors who, graced us.
Just gonna say, that's one of my favorite things about what we got to do is the fact that like Jamie and John and I as a trio, we didn't have a rehearsal, all of us. And our first time as a trio together was in front of the camera. And so that was nerve-wracking for me, a very type A person. Like, what? We don't get a group rehearsal. What are we going to do? But I will say immediately I felt safe with John and Jamie as an artist to be able to play and to just have fun. They're just so generous with the craft, and we just, the chemistry and synergy, and especially between Slick and Yo-Yo, because they're a duo, really, a dynamic duo. You really need those two to be able to have chemistry and really go toe-to-toe with each other. So that was, once we all got together, and with John and Jamie, it really felt like a family between us and also the crew and the creatives. And so we really just had a good time.
Did you have like any favorite scenes or moments from the movie that you enjoyed filming?
Yeah, I mean, it's like first thing comes to mind is like the craziest thing that makes me like, oh, see,
Right.
I mean, just things we probably not allowed to say, but like in terms of like things that made it super memorable. I think the thing that comes to mind is like,
Don't worry, I'm gonna run this after it comes out. So,
oh,
let's keep.
oh yeah, so okay, so the
Now, yo, that was just part one of the interview. As you can see, we had a lot of fun talking about this movie, and we kind of go into spoiler territory as we get deeper into the conversation. So I have to save that until we get closer to the release of the movie. The full video will come out later, but keep an eye out for my full review as well as a deep dive. Some of you, I know what it means when I do a deep dive, but keep an eye out for my deep dive and reaction to the movie along with part 2 of this interview. Anyway, that's all I have for this one, but if you're new here, please do me a favor. Give this video a like. Consider subscribing before heading on to your next video. YouTube still uses that to help channels like mine grow, and I could really use the help and support to let me know that you like the content that I'm putting together, and this way you can join us every week as we break down the latest and greatest movie news and reviews. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to check y'all all later. Peace.